Mr. Smith, good morning to you. Thank you for your time. All the best for 2013. Before we talk about the upgrades to Khayelitsha and the section in Khayelitsha, what has happened to the people who have been displaced?
Well, Gareth, morning, and thank you for the well wishes, and the same to you. I think just if you will notice that my jacket is still slightly wet. It's raining outside here in Cape Town, and that's quite sad because I was thinking that the people who we saw yesterday are going to have to rebuild in that sludge that the rain will be turning their sites into this morning. So challenging at the moment in BM section in Khayelitsha, 3,000 people affected, 800 structures destroyed. It looks like a lunar landscape out there. The fire department was quite good in its response, but we had real howling southeaster winds measuring up to 90 kilometers an hour at some times. So that made the fire extremely aggressive, swept through that area in no time. And the disaster management have been very good. They've had the help of ShopRite and Mustadafin as disaster relief agencies have been providing 3,000 meals for people, but blankets, clothing, and also just emergency shelter and accommodation in the Oliver Tambo Hall close by. And so at the moment, disaster risk management is coordinating the efforts there. We were handing out fire starter kits for people to start rebuilding and helping clear the site yesterday once SAPS had released the site. And yesterday, I think an important step forward, we managed to convince the community, between myself, Councillor Ernest Sonnenberg, the Maker Member for Housing, and the Ward Councillor, Councillor Komeni, that we should be getting some fire breaks in. Otherwise, we would simply see a repeat of that kind of devastating fire in some years to come.
Let's talk about the upgrades for a moment. JP, I'm going to ask you to perhaps give us info on how people can help in a short while. I would like to talk about the upgrades that were in the pipeline. Obviously, that is going to now take place with this area now being cleared. What are those upgrades going to consist of, and who's going to pay for them?
Well, the City's Human Settlements Department were very actively involved in those discussions. They are using the fire as an opportunity to start getting some of that work done, specifically through our VPUU, our Violence Prevention Through Urban Upgrading program that has been very successful in Harare and in Kanini, in Khayelitsha, which some of the aspects thereof in terms of public open space upgrade will be applied here as well now. But most urgently, it was to make sure that there is an access road that runs parallel to the fence next to the N2. And it was to make sure that from that access road, you have a couple of roads running perpendicular to that into the informal settlement, which then runs at cross angles to the predominant southeaster, so that with the next big fires, it's 20 or 40 shacks at worst that get destroyed and not 800. So that was a very important step forward. And yesterday, some people had already started to build. We had to ask them to just stop, get the digger loaders in and start making those paths. And that's a more complicated thing than it sounds. It's very difficult to get the community on board. They're at a very unsettled state. People are anxious about what's going to happen to their building materials. They're standing there too scared to leave the site because they have to watch their building materials for fear other people will carry
Certainly
it off.
Understandable. Mr. Smith, my apologies. I don't mean to interrupt. I don't mean to be rude. As you and I actually speak at the moment, someone asking me on social media, it's our Twitter account, at eNCA News, how can anyone in Cape Town or elsewhere help if they want to? How does someone, as briefly as you can, go about helping these members of Khayelitsha?
Absolutely. At the moment, we are calling for donations, emergency food rations, fresh or tinned food, wood, paraffin, blankets, and the community yesterday themselves specifically asked for mattresses and school uniforms. There is City as a disaster relief fund, and to contribute either food or clothing or any money, they can contact the Disaster Risk Management Centre on 080 911 HELP. That's 4357. 080 911 HELP. That's 4357.
All right, so JP Smith for the moment. Thank you very much. We'll get those details on air a little bit late in the morning for those wanting to help. My thanks to JP Smith from the City of Cape Town talking about the upgrades for the Khayelitsha BM section this after a horrific fire razed many shacks on New Year's Day. Certainly a sad story. We'll give you details of how you can help if you want to a little bit later.